There's this broader issue of whether there will or won't be a contested Democratic National Convention. Now, contested can mean two things, and I've talked to you about this. Number one, the sort of colloquial meaning of contested would be neither Bernie Sanders nor Hillary Clinton clinch the nomination with 2,383 pledged delegates before the convention. This would be a nominally contested convention, but it could still be decided on the first round of voting at the convention, right? Nobody comes in already with the required number of pledged delegates. They do one vote, and on that first ballot, somebody wins. Looking at the numbers today, likely Hillary. Some people are calling that contested, but historically speaking, that's not really what we mean when we say a contested convention. That's scenario number two, which is nobody reaches 2,383 delegates even after the first ballot has been taken, which includes superdelegates actually voting. This is not very likely. Let me be abundantly clear about that. But it is possible. But there are lots of other possibilities which are possible, right? For example, there's a winner after the first vote, presumably, as I said, Hillary Clinton, but Bernie Sanders supporters and the superdelegates that do support Bernie Sanders stage a protest or a floor fight over particular issues. And this is how conflict could really start at the Democratic National Convention. Bernie Sanders has been framed by detractors as supporting violence at the DNC. Bernie Sanders has said unequivocally that he condemns any and all forms of violence. The issue now is that he recently said to an Associated Press reporter during an interview, quote, democracy is not always nice and quiet and gentle. And he also said that things could get messy at the convention if the party doesn't become more inclusive. So there are a number of different feelings about Bernie Sanders saying this and saying that he is going to stick it out all the way through the convention. Some flat out don't like Bernie Sanders and want him out. I don't believe that that's the majority of Democrats at this time, or even close to it. There are those who say Bernie's role is very, very important, but the longer he stays in, the better it is for Trump, because Trump can start campaigning against Hillary now, whereas Hillary still has to deal with Bernie until there's an official nominee. And to them, I say, number one, I reject that at its face. I've not seen any compelling evidence that a longer primary hurts the party in November. But number two, it's a little bit condescending to say Bernie is just so annoying, making Hillary campaign against him for now instead of against Trump. That's incredibly presumptuous and anti-democratic.
But it's not that Hillary has to do much to beat Bernie. It seems she's going to anyway.
You think
And
mathematically at this point it's a pretty clear path, yeah?
It's pretty clear. So I don't think she has to try too hard. From her rhetoric as of late, it seems she's already basically just campaigning against Trump, right?
Mostly, yeah. In many ways. So what is the messiness that could happen at the convention? Could it be that there's going to be a forced floor fight no matter what the results of the first ballot are? Is the messiness going to be the protests outside of the DNC that we've been increasingly talking about and catching wind of? And Lewis, as you know, in working out logistics for the DNC, we are increasingly seeing much more attention and time being paid to security issues and concerns. I don't know what the messiness is necessarily that Bernie Sanders is talking about. It could be a pretty fascinating Democratic National Convention, but the real question is, will it strengthen the party or will it hurt the party? And depending on who you talk to on what particular day, the opinions on this are pretty varied.
Yeah, I'm not so concerned about damaging the party, strengthening the party.
I'm not either.
The party's a mess, and it's rather corrupt, as we just discussed. And who cares about the party? Let's do away with parties.
Well, but okay, fair enough. But I think when sometimes people talk about strengthening or weakening the party, what they're referring to is hurting or helping the eventual nominee's chances to defeat Donald Trump in November. I'm reframing it in terms of what it actually means practically, and that there's no doubt that that's important.
It's important, yeah, I suppose, but is this kind of conflict actually going to determine the outcome of the election?
I don't believe it is.
No, it's not going to.
I've seen no evidence that an extended or contentious primary, I've said this before and I'll repeat it, will actually determine whether it's more likely that Donald Trump will win in November. If you disagree, if you think a longer Democratic primary actually does help Donald Trump, send me something that is data-driven or empirical, because I've been able to find nothing. I'm on Twitter at @dpakman. Lewis is on Twitter at @LewisMotamedi. I've talked about how people of all ages, but particularly millennials, are owning cars less and participating more in the sharing economy. And one of the more popular options is Zipcar, which gets you a car when you want it, when you need it. They offer all sorts of cars, SUVs, hybrids, whatever you need. It includes insurance and it includes gas. You just pay for the time that you actually use the car. And you can reserve the car online, from your smartphone, over the phone. Then you unlock it with your Zip card. Each car share member reduces their personal CO2 emissions by between 1,100 and 1,600 pounds per year. For our audience, Zipcar is offering $25 of free driving credit if you sign up at joinzipcar.com/David. Support our show, reduce your carbon emissions and your spending on cars. Sign up at joinzipcar.com/David.